everyone, and welcome to the Ultimate Job Search and Career Podcast. I am Bill, the company's expert, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to make a good first impression during an interview. Now, this entire episode is based on a question that was sent in by one of my many viewers and listeners. This one is from Vas N, and Vas N says, "Hello, Bill. I was wondering if you could make a video on how to make a good first impression during an interview. I feel like a good first impression is a must, especially when there are 100 candidates who applied for the same position. I have an interview in about 2 weeks on Zoom, and I was wondering if you could give some tips with regard to that topic. Thanks." Yes, certainly I can, Vasan. Let's talk about it, okay? Now, you know me, I'm going to try and resist my instinct to say that if you're going in with 100 candidates, you're choosing a very lofty challenge, okay? Because statistically, if you have 100 other candidates, then you have a 1% chance of getting the job statistically, okay? And you can avoid all of that if you get a job in the hidden job market and you're only going up against 1 or 2 other people tops. However, regardless of the application, you're absolutely right. A good first impression is essential. Now, whether you are doing this over a video call or you're doing it in person, a lot of these same principles apply, okay? Number one thing to make a good impression is, you're going to hate this, but is to smile. And I don't mean smile insanely. I mean to look pleasant, look friendly, look approachable, look like you're in the company of friends, okay? If you look nervous and you look worried and you look uncomfortable and you look like you're hating every second of this experience and you're hoping that they won't talk to you and you're dreading what they're going to say next, and that's what you look like, that's not good, okay? You want to look pleasant, you want to appear friendly, and the very first thing that hits people is whether you're smiling or not, okay? So I don't know if you can tell by the sound of my voice, I'm smiling right now, okay? This is the sound of me when I'm smiling. This is the sound of me when I'm not smiling. You can even tell by the voice, okay? So you want to be pleasant. If you're not, coming across as somebody that's enjoying themselves and is not wanting to be there, then they are not going to warm to you, and they're going to assume that that's how you feel in general about that company, that place, that type of work, and so on. Okay, so number one is smile. It's ridiculously simple. I almost feel stupid kind of saying this, but it is so essential, okay? So smile, be friendly, be pleasant, and be polite, okay? That's key. If you're rude or you don't say thank you or you don't say please, things like this. Once again, very little thing, very small thing here, but it has a big impact, okay? So appear friendly and pleasant and polite. And yes, I know some of that's going to be forced, especially when, you're nervous, but that's what you have to do to make a good first impression. And the idea is, I hate this because it's a cliche, but fake it till you make it, okay? If you start off the interaction smiling and looking friendly and looking happy and, being nice to people, then the usual thing is that they will respond in kind, which means they will also smile back and appear friendly and talk in a pleasant, polite way. And that's what you want, right? So smile and be friendly, okay? Now, some other things you can do to leave a good impression, okay? So far I've talked about a first impression, okay? Other things behavior-wise you can do to leave a good impression and have them enjoy their interaction with you, because after all, that is the entire point of a job interview, okay? A lot of people don't realize this. When you send in a job application, usually it includes your resume and things like that, that's where they evaluate your technical skills, okay? So what your education is, what your experience is, what are your skills, things like that. That's where they're evaluating that stuff, okay? And they're comparing it to the job requirements. Now, if they then decide to call you in for an interview, okay, what that means in 90% of situations, it means that you have the technical skills. Okay, there's nothing on your resume or your application that flatly eliminates you. Okay, so if they like you and they feel that as a person you would be a good person in the position they're looking for, there is nothing disqualifying you on your resume. Okay, that's how it goes in 90% of the situations. And then in about 5% of the situations or so, the purpose for the interview is to verify that the things that you have put on your application and in your resume seem accurate. Okay, so for example, if you said that you were, I don't know, you had a degree in accounting. Okay, they may bring you in and give you a few accounting related questions, and if you have trouble answering them, then they'll decide that, oh, maybe your technical skills aren't up to par. But that happens in about 5% of interviews. Okay, roughly 90% of the time, it's because they want to see who you are as a person. Okay, so in order to leave them with a good impression, okay, and have the interaction go well, one of the things that you can make sure that you have to do is having no pushback. Okay, don't find fault with them, with the process, with the company, with any part of the interaction from beginning to end. Okay, now I know there's going to be people kind of wondering about that, because let's face it, a lot of job interviews are not very pleasant. The people you encounter, not all of them are wonderful. Not all of them are competent, and not all of them are polite. So believe me, I get it. It can be very hard to walk this talk, okay? But don't appear offended. Don't appear dissatisfied. Don't appear bored. Don't appear, just nervous or anything like that, or not on board with anything in the entire interaction. Okay, remember, you agree with everything. Everything was great. Okay, just remember that. If you can behave that way during the entire interview, they'll probably have a good feeling about you. Okay, anything they ask you, if they ask you to do something, you say sure. Could you sit a bit closer to the camera? Sure. Could you tell us a bit about your background? Sure. Never, pushing back and saying, well, I don't know why you'd want to know that, or anything like this. Okay. So always be accommodating. That's very important. Another thing you can do to leave a good impression of people, and this is more important when you're having conversations with people, when you're having conversational type skills, but is to ask about them. Okay. When you meet somebody new, a stranger, okay, someone you just met, nobody is really interested in you. Okay, they are not automatically interested in you. But if you ask about them, they love talking about themselves. Okay, this is human nature. We all love to talk about ourselves, and we all get flattered when someone asks us about us. Okay, and we tend to warm to that person. Okay, so this is something else you can do to give a good impression and leave a good impression. Especially in things like job interviews. Okay. Ask about them, ask about the company. Okay. Not in the sense that, you know nothing about the company, but, you're interested, right? So that's something you could do. Also, show appreciation. If they offer you anything or they do anything for you, if you're in person and they say, here, have the good seat closer to the window, you say excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Don't just sort of shrug it off and not say anything. If they offer you a glass of water or a coffee or, whatever, say, thank you very much. Appear grateful. People love that. Okay. That's a great way to have them warm to you. Okay. Now I guess this technically qualifies as preparation for a job interview, but make sure that you have researched a little bit about the company. Okay. Don't go in there not knowing anything about the company. And if possible, don't go in there knowing nothing about the people that are interviewing you. If you know who's going to interview you in advance, look them up on things like LinkedIn and just try and remember some basic elements of who they are. Like this person is the HR person. That person is the hiring manager. The hiring manager has a background in this. Okay, something like that. So you know who you're talking about and you remember their names. Very important. Okay, if they give you business cards, that's great. But remember people's names. It's flattering when somebody remembers your name. People who are leaders, they have to be, I guess I'm the exception, but they have to be good at remembering people's names. It's always been a weak spot of mine, but no, it's flattering to remember people's names when you've just met them. Okay. Now, if you're doing a Zoom interview or you're doing a interview in person, the kind of final part of this that I'll say is the visual part. Okay. So, whether you're on camera or whether you're in person, make sure that you've got your grooming together, okay? Whether you're male or female or anything in between, make sure that you're tidy, that it shows that you've put effort into looking good, and that signals that you're taking the interaction seriously. You're taking the opportunity seriously, okay? If somebody looks disheveled and, that strikes people as unprofessional. It also strikes people as you're not really taking this seriously. You're not serious about this interview or this job. Okay. So make sure your grooming is together. If you're a guy, make sure you're reasonably clean shaven, at least for most type jobs. I mean, there's exceptions to that depending on what the job is, but your attire, your clothes. Okay. A job interview is probably the occasion that you're going to be dressed up for the most in your career. Okay. For most people, the most they ever dress up is in a job interview. So you need to look professional no matter what you're going for. But more than that, you need to look appropriate for the position. So what can help is, if you get on the internet and you research the company, sometimes if you're interviewing with a bigger company or a bigger organization, it's possible to go and see pictures of what these people look like. Pictures from inside the organization. You get a feel for how people dress. You can look at their, public relations material, their promotional material, their website. Sometimes it might show employees, and you look at how they're dressed. Now, if everybody's in a 3-piece suit, that tells you something. If you want to look like you fit in, then that's probably what you're going to want to wear. If everybody is wearing golf shirts, that tells you something else. If everybody's in t-shirts and jeans, that tells you something else. So if the entire company, including the CEO, dresses in a t-shirt and jeans and sits on a beanbag chair, you don't want to walk in there in a 3-piece suit. Okay. You want to look like you fit and you belong there. Okay. You want to look like the person when they see you in the interview. Okay. So these are all things you can do. I mean, it's taken me close to 15 minutes to talk about this, but you can actually research these things in 3 minutes, just, with being on the internet. Okay. So, grooming and attire are very important. Don't be afraid to dress up while keeping in mind of what's appropriate for the position you're going for. You want to look the part. Okay, now if you do all these things, okay, you smile, you're pleasant, you're friendly, you're polite, okay, you don't find fault with anything, you don't get offended about anything, you don't push back in any other way, if making conversation or there's an opportunity, you ask about them or their company, you show appreciation whenever they give you something or do something for you. And you know a bit about the company and a bit about the individuals that you're interviewing with if you were aware of them in advance. And when you show up or when you appear on camera, your grooming is together and your attire is dressed up but still appropriate. If you do all of that, you should make a pretty good impression in the job interview. Okay? So that's pretty much, I can't really think of anything else. I think if you do that stuff, you're going to be fine. Okay? So this is something that people practice as they go to, many interviews. A lot of times people don't get hired after their very first job interview. It takes several interviews. So this is the kind of stuff you would practice. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Thank you very much to Vas N for sending in this comment, this question. Thank you very much for listening. You guys are awesome, and I hope to see you on the next podcast. Take care.